Caspian geysers, he'll be able to start just mass Mutalisk, mass Baneling, and as we see now on the production tab, Infester play.
Yeah, and right now Dombot is doing some harassment with his Banshees, taking out some creep tumors, keeping that creep back, but the mutas are going to be on their way and they will be able to clean this up. That Raven getting a really nice point defense drawn down there, but it's not going to be enough to keep these mutas from taking out the Raven and 2 Banshees, and that's actually a huge loss for a Terran player.
Yeah, pushing back the creep is always good, but at the expense of a Raven and 2 Banshees,
Yeah.
you'd have to clear a hell of a lot of creep for that to be worthwhile. And right now, the Zerg player is engaging the kind of border defenses of his opponent. There's a huge number of Marines who were moving out but are now running back in, trying to...
And he's getting that
is he going to get Stim? He does not get Stim. Stim is cancelled forcibly by death.
Oh, such a big hit there by our Zerg player, keeping that Stim and Combat Shield eventually from being produced for now. And Dompa is really going to be forced to turtle. I don't think that he can attack at all right now.
Yeah, there's definitely not an opportunity for him in probably the next 2 or 3 minutes. That sensor tower is very well placed. I do think that that's a very good way of dealing with the site blockers and the multiple methods of getting into your third base. And while I still would rather have seen that base be a planetary fortress, I think that Donbot is making the most out of what he can with it, making a little bit of a wall and building the bunker.
He absolutely is now. Does look like our Zerg player is up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bases right now, and could easily expand to some more if he chose to do so. As well, he has morphed a ton of Banelings, and it looks like he might try to go for a break right here.
Yeah, if he charges straight into this position while his opponent's army is split up, it's going to be really bad for him. I'd like to see this army move out a little bit more into the space between these 2 bases. And look at that. There's the enormous attack. No Baneling speed just yet. I don't even think it matters. The Banelings are not lacking for targets at all. Bring down that bunker immediately, moving right into the mineral line. And where's the army move out? Don really needs to take this huge number of units that are just waiting in his natural and doing nothing. But no, that base is going to be totally denied, and I don't think a single SCV survives this attack.
No, that was a great attack now. I don't know if you saw it though. Our Zerg player did move in with his mutas to the main base of Dombot, and he lost almost all of his mutas to 2 Thors right there. He just was not paying attention.
Oh, I did miss that. These Thors moving out with a whole bunch of kills, but it looks like the army is finally moving out, trying to push the Zerg player away from that base, and there are a couple of SCVs who are the luckiest SCVs ever. I would have thought they would all be dead, but no, they ran up on top of the hill and said, no, wait, if we don't move, much like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, the Zergling cannot see us.
Now, if you guys want to take a look at the units lost tab, the units lost in resource-wise are actually pretty even. So Dompot's definitely not losing, but he is very far behind in supply. He's only got about 108 versus 184. And the strength of Zerg is going to come into play with these attacks, how he can easily re-macro his entire army back to 200 supply.
We do see the Greater Spire on the way, along with the upgrades continuing across the board. Missile attacks level 1, ground carapace level 2. And I think that, honestly, Puggate's getting a little bit cheeky with this top right expansion. That expansion, you can almost see the Terran army from where it's being built. If he wants to take another base, I do think it would be where the Zerglings are taking the rocks down right now. But ultimately, when you're at 183 supply and your opponent's only at 116 on these reduced resource bases where every individual unit matters so much more, I don't think you have that much to worry about.
And look here, Puggett trying to morph a bunch of Banelings, actually gonna have to cancel all of those Banelings. Dombot having some sick game sense there, keeping them from being produced, gonna protect his SCVs for a little bit longer.
That was very good of him to move in and prevent that attack from going on. He's building another sensor tower. I do like that. He's trying to keep as much as he can, but we have a counterattack running right into the natural and right all the way up into the mains. There was no raise on either one of them, and they're going to be able to get right on top of that command center, begin camping the production structure. There is a small unit of Marines on anti-mutilist duty who might be able to do something about it, and I do like that Dombot's not pulling his whole army back. He's trying to just deal with it with what he has, though. He might not actually have enough, but no, actually, okay, it is looking like he's eventually going to be able to clean this up, though. It might lose a couple reactors and just a little bit of his defending forces in the main.
Yeah, it is going to be close here, and actually, yeah, I think it will be able to defend. More Marines are on their way. So, you know, Puggett doing really good, but at the same time, I'm proud of Dombot for not moving his entire army back and holding his position kind of next to his third base, and where he would have a fourth base.
I do think he's going to be wanting to lift off that main command center. He's going to need to
Oh,
put
yeah,
it
most
right in that
definitely.
fourth base that he's long distance mining from, which is a pretty smart decision when you don't have enough mineral patches in the current number of bases that you have to put everyone to good use. Then it's definitely better to be long distance mining. But we have a huge attack, a bunch of roaches moving in, taking out the first two siege tanks. There's a bunker but with nobody in it, but it's from the top ground that the problem is really going to be coming in for our Zerg player.
Yeah, and Terran doing a great job of excellent positions there. However, I think that Puggett may manage to take out this army. He's focusing down that CC, not managing to get it. I feel like he probably should be focusing the army with all of his roaches, not splitting them up like that. These two Thors are still remaining alive with a handful of Marines, but I do not think they're going to be able to last against all of these roaches. And ooh, lifting off there. Really smart by our Terran player. Gonna save his Thors for another day.
Yeah, but I do think that the resource and base deficit is just starting to too dramatic. It's 74 supply to 150. There's a very large mineral bank for our Zerg player, and I think at this point he could just make a ton of Zerglings and probably win the game. That third base has not landed again. It has a whole bunch of unused energy, and all of the SCVs that were mining from the long distance fourth have been forced to be pulled back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Puggett's just doing such a good job with his macro in comparison to Donbot. Now, Donbot, you know, he's not a bad player. He's had some really good positioning strategies, and his unit composition is actually not bad at all. I just feel like he got so far behind against his Zerg player. There's just really nothing that he can actually do.
I do think that it was all about being experienced in what this kind of map demands essentially from the player. You need to be expanding extremely aggressively. You need to be spreading out your army, which he was actually doing a pretty good job of in order to defend all of those expansions, because unless you're able to get probably 5 or 6 bases, you're not going to be able to max out or fight with the maxed out Zerg army.
Yeah, and it does look like we have about 4 Broodlords with, or sorry, 3 Broodlords with 4 more morphing in to just continue to kill off our Terran player here.
Unfortunately, that will probably be the nail in the coffin. He right now has a single starport with a reactor on it, and when we look at the units tab, there are 2 Vikings on the field, and I somehow do not think that's going to be enough.
No, it most definitely will not be enough, and Donbot doesn't even have enough minerals really to produce Marines or anything, which are his most basic unit.
Yeah, unfortunately, he is completely mined out in the main, starting to get mined out in the natural, and has only just now landed the orbital command in the third base and has dropped many mules on it who are definitely helping him get a little bit more income, might be able to continue his production for a little while, but without securing that fourth base, though he does have an orbital over there that he's also starting to strip mine with.
Yeah, that's actually kind of interesting. I'm surprised that Puggett doesn't have a 200-200 army, and maybe you can share a little bit of insight there. Maybe is it his lack in macro, or I'm not sure what's going on. Is he saving up?
I think he's trying to go for the perfect late game death ball.
Okay.
And when he's on this number of bases, he has that option. He's just trying to not... Because right now he could just dump all his money into roaches and be instantly maxed if he wanted to try to kill his opponent. But I think what he's trying to do instead is make sure that he just has so many Broodlords, so many Corruptors, so many Infestors, that when he does finally engage, it's impossible for him to lose. He has everything he ever wanted, and there's no way that Don will be able to come back from it.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. So we do see actually 1 Ultra being produced right now.
Build all the Zerg units.
Yeah, just have a mixture, as well as 6 Infestors, so oh god, those are going to do so much damage.
It's true. Don is doing his best to get back into this, though, and he's doing all the things that he needs to. He's taking very risky expansions. If any one of these were found, they'd be denied, but ultimately, he just needs the money, and every return trip that he can get from an SCV is more money than he had a moment ago.
And look at this position from Puggett, attacking into these Thors. Going to take out 1 Thor, and probably needs to move his Corruptors up here to get rid of those Vikings before he loses too many Broodlords. But Zerglings are coming in here, getting awesome surrounds against every single unit from the Terran player. And there's just nothing Terran's going to be able to do against this.
Where's 36 Marines? Because I do think if they were involved in the fight, that might have been something that could have been held off.
It looks like he is doing some drop stuff, but that's really just, you know... That's going to do some damage, but there's just so many bases from Zerg, he's not going to be able to do enough damage to make it worth it.
Yeah, unfortunately he's down to just 27 Marines, and when there's 24 Banelings to deal with your 27 Marines, you would need some extraordinarily good Marine King style Marine splits to actually deal with that kind of attack.
Now, surprisingly enough, the Terran player is doing a good job of turtling. Now, the Zerglings are going to be coming in here with Banelings, though, and Dombot actually not splitting any Marines, so he's going to lose all of those 2 Banelings.
And that's the GG. We do see that Puckett was continuing to reinforce that army behind the lines, so even though his first army was being wiped out, he was still at 171 supplies, so there was a second group just waiting to get to the front lines.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks for tuning in. This is Pool signing out.
This is Senex. Peace.